Hi, this is Gary with MACMOST.com. Here are some alternatives to your favorite Mac shortcuts. MACMOST is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 1,000 supporters. Go to MACMOST.com/Patreon. There you could read more about the Patreon campaign, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. So we all have our ways of getting around in Mac OS. We use different keyboard shortcuts, sometimes gestures, sometimes clicking in different places to get things done really quickly. Some of the most popular ones, though, have alternatives that may actually be faster, or some people may like them better. For instance, the first one is for launching apps. A lot of people talk about using Spotlight to launch apps. I even bring it up as a great way to do it. You use Command Space, that brings up Spotlight Search. You start typing the name of an app, and then when it's the one selected, you press Return and it launches the app. Much easier than going to the Applications folder. It's better than going to the dock because you can use the keyboard instead. But is it the best way to do it? There's also Launchpad. Now Launchpad you would normally get to by clicking on Launchpad in the dock. At that point you're already slower than using Spotlight. But you can bring up Launchpad with a keyboard shortcut as well. Now some Mac keyboards actually have it as a key. I've got it here as F4 and it brings up Launchpad. And then all I need to do is start typing just like if I had brought up Spotlight. But the advantage is that I'm only seeing apps. Spotlight is slowed down by the fact it's looking for files, it's giving you suggestions for web searches and all of that. Launchpad is just focused on apps. So it's really easy to narrow it down to just one, press Return, and it launches. In my tests, Launchpad was always a little bit faster, as long as you can get to it by keyboard shortcut. If you go into System Settings and then you go to Keyboard, then if you look under Keyboard Shortcuts, the first thing you want to look for is under Launchpad and Dock. You want to assign a keyboard shortcut to show Launchpad. So something good might be Shift Command Space. So it's similar to Spotlight but not the same thing. And note that if you're going to use F4 to do it, if you see that on your keyboard, you may need to use the FN or globe key at the same time. But if you turn this setting off under Function Keys, then you could just press F4. So now F4 brings it up. Now next we've got the App Switcher. You've got a bunch of different apps running. You use Command and then Tab while continuing to hold out the Command key to switch to another app. And that app then comes to the front. And that works great. I don't know if you can beat that. But the dock will contain all of the apps that you're currently using. You've got all the apps that you want here on the left, and any that you have launched but aren't on the left are going to appear on the right. So every app you're using is going to be here. And you can easily move the pointer down to the bottom and then click an app to bring that one to the front. If your hand's on the trackpad already, then using the dock may be faster than using the app switcher. If you want to use the keyboard, you can do it with the dock. Just use FN or the globe key and then A. That will bring up the dock, and notice how the first item selected there on the left. I can use the arrow keys to move over. I can select the app I want and press spacebar and it jumps to it. So it's very similar to using the app switcher, except that the items are always going to remain in the same order on the dock. So some people may actually like it better. Another option for switching apps is simply to use Mission Control. If you've just got one desktop space open, then Control up arrow brings up all of the windows there, and you can click on the window that you want to bring it to the front. This is especially useful if you've got multiple windows open for the same app. So for instance in Pages here, I'll open up another window and now I can easily pick between these two windows here instead of using the app switcher first and then having to choose the right window. Now if you do want to switch between windows, a quick way to do it is Command and then the backtick key, which on US keyboards is above Tab. You use that and you can switch between the windows in the current app. But App Expose will do this for you too. Control down arrow and now you can see the two windows and now you can click on the one you want. In fact, if you use App Expose with Control and down arrow, you can then tab without holding any modifier keys down through all of your apps. And then you can use the up arrow and go to Windows and then Return to jump to the window. You could also use the dock to select a window. So if I go down and find the app in the dock, click and hold there, I'll see the open windows here and I'll see recent windows as well. So I can reopen a recent file. And of course in the app itself the window menu is always going to have all of the open windows. So you can just select one to bring that to the front. Now you may also use Spotlight or Command Space to search for files. Type the name of a file and it will search for you and find that file and you can jump to it. Sometimes it takes a little while because there's a lot of stuff that Spotlight does. Eventually it comes up and you can go and select a document. But if you know you're going to search for a file, instead of using Command Space, use Command Option Space. And this brings up a new Finder window and the cursor is already blinking there in the search field. So now you can search for a file and it's going to be a little faster because it's only searching for files. And you can easily search between file names or all content. Now if you want to make an app full screen, you may click the green button here and then it enters full screen mode. But then it's separate from the rest of your windows. In Mission Control it looks like this. You have your regular desktop and then you have a separate space here just for this one app. One thing you may want to consider is to expand the window to the full size that it can go. So drag the corners out. There's a shortcut for this though. Double clicking on a corner will move that corner all the way to the matching corner on your screen. If you Option double click, then it will move this corner and the opposite corner as well, basically expanding the window to the maximum amount of size that's there. It's still a window and you can still have other windows behind it and bring other windows in front of it. So in some cases this is more desirable than actually making it a full screen space. Now keyboard shortcuts and gestures are great, but there is an alternative to them called hot corners for some commands. If you go into System Settings and then you go to Desktop and Dock and scroll all the way to the bottom, there's a button here called Hot Corners. And you could set up a hot corner for each of the four corners of your screen and set it to one of these shortcuts. So it can launch Mission Control, Launchpad, bring up a quick note, start the screensaver, lots of different things. If it's in this list you can select it and then when you move your pointer to that corner you can see it activates that just like a keyboard shortcut. You can also hold down a modifier key when selecting one of these to make it so that you need to use the modifier key at the same time as you put the pointer in a corner. Now if you want to type an emoji character you probably know how to do that. You can use the keyboard shortcut Control, Command Space, or you can use FN key and E and it brings up the emoji and special character viewer. You can then search for the character you want and then double click it and it will put it there. It's a lot of steps involved. If you find there are some emoji characters you use a lot though, you could set up a shortcut for that by going into System Settings, going to Keyboard again, and then click Text Replacements. And then let's add a replacement. So you want to use as the first part something you would not normally type. Like maybe use an exclamation point before the word and then put a word like that. And then put the replacement as the emoji character that you want to use. And then add it. And now whenever you want to type that character all you need to do is type this text replacement that you've made and then a return or a space will replace that with that character. Set it up for your 10 most commonly used emoji and you don't have to search for them anymore. Now when you have an app on the screen like this and you want to get it out of the way, you may just hit the minimize button or the keyboard shortcut for that. And that will bring it into the dock. But it doesn't get rid of any other windows that that app has been using. And then getting that window back can be a pain. You've got to go and select it in the dock and all of that. A lot of times what people really want to do is just hide the entire app. And you can find that in the app's menu here and it's just called Hide or Command H. So just a quick Command H hides the app and all the windows. To get it back you can just use the app switcher or select it in the dock or use any method for launching an app and what it'll actually do if it's just hidden it will unhide it. Now the way we do a lot of different things is to either use keyboard shortcuts or the menu up here. For instance if I wanted to copy some text I could select the text, then go up here to edit and then select copy. Or move my hands from the trackpad or mouse that I was just using because I use it to select the text and then do Command C. But a lot of times you can just use the context menu for things that directly affect an element on the screen. So after this selection here I can either Control click, two finger click on a trackpad or right click on a mouse and bring up the context menu and I'll find menu commands that would normally be in the menu here and have keyboard shortcuts but they're available to me right here in the context menu. So I can select copy. And I can go to some other place where I want to paste it and then Control click and then select paste. Clearly in a lot of cases Command C and Command V are more convenient and in other times maybe going to the menu. But sometimes a context menu will get you that faster, especially if you can't remember the keyboard shortcut for something. Now I should note that a lot of the things I've shown you here can be done with gestures on a trackpad and sometimes a mouse. So for a trackpad you can go to System Settings Trackpad and under More Gestures you can see there are gestures for Mission Control and you can actually customize that. App Expose, and you could select some options there, and Launchpad as well. So I hope you found this useful, or at least it helps you remember that on a Mac there's usually more than one way to do anything. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, click the thumbs up button below to let me know. I publish new tutorials each weekday. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out.